Welcome back to Quick and Effective Environment Illustration. Here in Lesson 5, we're going to refine this layer shape a little bit more, and then we're going to lock it. We're going to lock a clipping mask on the layer above, and we're going to start painting in the light side of this mountain shape. And now this is the main Photoshop technique for handling these environment illustrations. We've got that clean layer. I can lock transparency if I want to paint within it. I want to paint within it to now bring some color up, bring some color in, get a little cooler blue, a little more saturation. Now in the layer above, we drop that clipping mask. And now in that layer, we can paint in the light world, the light side. And now this light side itself is going to be another layer shape that we're going to refine out just as we refine out the main shape of the whole mountain, and we use that layer shape to paint within. We use the same treatment on the light sides of these masses. So the main layer shape is really the shadow mass of the mountain range. And then on top of that, and now in the background, the light that is hitting the background mountains, we'll treat the same way. We'll paint in this light layer over the top. And this layer, we'll go back and edit and refine the edges. And we can also lock this light layer. And later we'll come back with color and texture and add more detail into this shape. But by using this technique, by keeping the large layer shape separate from the light layer shape that you're painting within it, you can go back and forth and edit the light world, edit the dark world, edit the texture, edit the color without it affecting the other side. This way, if you needed to work on the transition between light and shadow, you can edit the light side to your heart's content without affecting the dark side, without graying out things, without muddying up your color. See, we can adjust the colors, we can adjust the saturation of just the light side, just the light shape. And the same technique will be used on every object, on the middle ground, on the light that's going to hit these trees in the foreground, on the light that's going to hit the clouds. It's all going to have the base layer shape that's a nice refined shape, then the light layer shape as a clipping mask above, I can refine the clouds a little more. Now we're starting to work with the first hints of color. We've got color in the mountain in the middle ground. We can starting to inch towards the right color of this cloud. Rather than just using a generic light white gray color, we can now refine a little bluer or a little warmer or a little cooler. But I'm still in this block in stage. I block in the masses, and we'll refine each of the masses, and then we'll start adding color and texture to really bring the landscape to life. But this is still simply blocking in the clouds, treating the clouds as a large layer shape, just like we treat the background mountains, just like we treat the middle ground mountains. It's a large layer shape that we're going to refine the edge. And the clouds, of course, the edges, there's a lot more to the edges up here in the clouds. We have soft edge, we have completely lost edges. Where on the mountains, in general, it's a hard edge across the top of the mountain range. But in the cloud, we've got to really start switching up our brushes, using different textures, different scatters to really tear up that edge and get an interesting edge that reads like a cloud edge. And it's really hard to keep all this soft and dynamic. So the Photoshop trick we're going to use when working with the clouds, we're going to use a little Gaussian blur later. So I can paint it in now using hard edge brushes. Not just hard round, but textured brushes to get a nice variety and even a chaotic look to that outline. But then later on, once we've got detail added and color and texture added to the rest of the elements, we're going to go back to this cloud layer, blur it, simply just use a blur filter, and then go in and refine that edge one final time to really, really smudge and get those edges to be as soft as clouds in the sky. Because right now everything's got a crisp, hard edge, and that's fine. Because it's still quite a ways from any finish, from any refined final outline. We just got to take things one step at a time and block it all in. And the reason for taking everything one step at a time and not getting carried away is so that you stay in control of the picture. Because once you start rendering out, if I was to spend more time rendering out a light shadow of these clouds, then the picture starts deciding for me where it's at. It starts to become this final rendered image, where if you take everything one step at a time, never bringing one part of the picture too far to a finish while leaving other areas lagging behind, everything moves forward as a whole. You get to guide the entire image throughout the whole process, whether you spend 2 hours on it, whether you spend 12 hours, or whether you spend 100 hours. By having a good process and procedure to follow, you stay in command of the image you're making. And in Photoshop, using this technique of creating a layer shape and using that as a mask, as a clipping mask or a lock transparency layer, that really keeps us in control of what we're doing and keeps you in front of the work, because you won't accidentally smear out the cloud shape onto the sky. You won't have to go back and forth with a cloud color and a sky color back and forth. You define the cloud shape, and then color is secondary. Within that shape, we can make all the adjustments with color we need. So I'm still just working as a whole, trying to develop an interesting shape, a dynamic shape to this cloud mass. And a lot of that comes from putting a little color down, seeing if it's right, taking some away if you feel it's not right, adding more if you feel it needs more. And one key to really effectively getting these clouds down is really just to have studied clouds. The more you've got to, if you're called upon to paint some clouds, You really got to spend time looking at them, studying them, getting a sense for why they look the way they do. And all that just comes from spending time studying. And the same applies to the tree and the mountains, to every element of the picture. So now if there's a little shadow side on the clouds, so I'm going to treat the mass as the light side of the clouds. And I'm going to wrap up this lesson as I finish blocking in some of this light side color of the clouds. And I'll see you in the next lesson as we keep refining these layer shapes and carry out this process into the middle ground and the foreground.